Hi, welcome to On Finance, and thank you for coming back. Now, in this video, we're going to cover the top performing money market funds as of second quarter 2021. So here are the main features of the money market funds. Low risk, low potential return for conservative investors, and ideal investment horizon is at least a year. So we have the peso currency. Before that, let's try to look at the benchmark here, interest rate. And you're actually looking at the 3-month bond yield of the Philippine government treasury securities. It's actually trading 1.155, and our inflation is actually moving sideways since February or March this year at around 4.5%. So you can see here that we are still in a negative yield territory, wherein inflation rate is actually higher than what we can get in, let's say, short-term treasury security of 1.55. So we will have negative 3 point something if you are going to subtract May inflation from this yield of 1.155%. So for our top performing funds, we have here on the first place Rizal Peso Money Market performing 1.73% for 1 year historical returns, and is followed by Sun Life 1.70. Next is ALFM at 1.67, BPI Invest 1.53, and Robinsons Bank Peso Money Market Fund 1.51. So if you notice here, the yields are very far from beating inflation of let's say 4%, but at least they are actually giving higher yield compared to traditional savings and deposits. So what if you have here 100,000 and you invested in any of the money market funds for, let's say, 1 year duration? So for Rizal Peso, you would get 1,730. For Sun Life, you would get 1,700, 1,670 for ALFM, BPI Invest Money Market 1,530, and for our Bank Peso, that's 1,510. So let's try to look at the Rizal Peso Money Market Fund. Why is that it's performing very well? So here we have some facts. Minimum investment is 5,000. Minimum additional investment, we have 1,000, and no holding period. Of course, most money market, 90% of the money market funds out there have no holding period. So same as this, and your trust fee is actually around 0.436%. So the average, I think, is about 0.5%. So this one is performing and charging a bit lower than the average of 0.5. So the client suitability, it's suited for clients with or investors with moderately conservative risk appetite, who want stable return, minor unfavorable fluctuations, and a short-term investment horizon. So here you're looking at the NAFPU graph. This is the benchmark, and this is the performance of the fund. So it's really outperforming rather, the benchmark there by merely looking at the distance of this darker line here versus this pale colored line here. So you're looking at the performance since 2006, and this time this data point here is as of 2021. So the highest and the lowest value is from 1.58 to 1.66. The modified duration is actually 0.8, so still less than 1 year. If you multiply that modified duration of 0.8 to, let's say, 12 months, you would get less than a year, say, average duration in terms of years. And then if you're going to look at here, the performance year to date, meaning from January as of the reporting date of May, that's around 0.31%. Although the benchmark is performing higher at 0.38, but if we're going to compare, let's say, the year-on-year or 1 year performance of the fund, it's actually 1.88% versus the benchmark of 1.01%. So about the portfolio composition, about 60% is accounted for by government securities. Now, if you're going to look at here, the top 10, we have Treasury bill and we have Treasury note, accounted for by, let's say, 46%. Let's say 50%. More than 50% is accounted for by government security. Okay, so that's it for your Rizal peso. Let's move to dollar currency. Let's try to look at the benchmark here and the yield. So it's almost the same. In peso currency here, we're looking at the 3-month treasury of the US. That's 0.048% as of July 6th. And inflation is actually at 5%. So still in negative yield environment, but this time it's really, really high. It's even higher than the Philippine inflation. So you may have difficulties in beating inflation if you are diversifying your investment to dollars, because this one now is at 5%, while the treasury securities is offering or treasury securities offering 0.04, less than half a percent. So for money market funds, here taking the first place, we have Union Bank dollar short-term fund 1.71% for 1 year, followed by Sun Life 1.21, Rizal dollar on the third place 1.07, BPI Invest on the fourth 0.81%, and lastly we have here 0.62% from Metro dollar short-term fund. Now, what if you have $10,000 and you invested in any of the money market funds for 1 year? Now, for Union Bank, that's around $171 return. For Sun Life, 121. For Rizal dollar, that's 107. For BPI Invest, 81. And for Metro dollar short term, that's around $62 for a year. Now, let's try to look at the Union Bank USD short term. Here we have minimum investment of $1,000, and the additional investment is I'm not sure about this, not applicable if this would mean that no minimum investment. So maybe you can keep in touch with the fund provider. But this time the fee is higher than the peso. Notice that the one being offered by Rizal is actually lower than um, 0.50 or 50 basis points, but this one now is charging a trust fee of 0.50%. So partially the reason is it's more harder to manage because of the forex factor. So about the client suitability here, we have short-term investment horizon because it's money market. We have here moderately conservative, and yeah, that's it. For the performance graph, we're looking at the NAFPU here from 2019 to 2021. You can see here that there's a lot of volatility in 2020. The main reason is that this season is actually the peak of the lockdown in the Philippines and even in the US. So if you're going to look at here, before COVID, it's trading around I think above 1, and it during the lockdown it actually traded below 0.999. But again, since this is a money market fund, so we expect that the volatility and duration is very minimal compared to bonds and equity funds. So for weighted average duration, that's around zero point 0.4, so it's very low, lower than 0.5 or 1. So that's why it's very conservative, even though we can see here a very short volatility. And then volatility past since inception, that's around 0.52%. So let's try to look at the composition here. Top 10 holdings. You're looking at China Bank Corporation. I'm not sure about PLNI. You have BDO here, time deposit, and so on. You also have here Indonesian sovereign bond. So you can see it's maturing 2022. But if you're going to look at the allocation here, double-digit allocation is more on China Bank, PLN. You have here BDO and Ida Sal. Okay, so they're maturing both this year, or rather all of them this year, except for this China Bank time deposit here, or maybe this could be a note. I'm not sure about that. But if you're going to look at here, the composition, majority of the placement is actually in cash and cash equivalents. And only 32% is accounted for by government bonds, while 27% is for corporate bonds. So let's try to look at here the 1 year performance of the fund. It's actually performing 2.55%, which is very decent considering it's a dollar. It's not enough to beat inflation of 4 or 5%, but if you're going to compare this one to traditional savings and dollar, let's say time deposits, this 2.55 net of taxes and fees is a decent return already, while the benchmark is performing 0.07%. So here are our sources. So that's all for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope that you learned something. Please do like the video, and if you want others to understand, kindly share this video. And if you need to know more, kindly subscribe so you won't miss any future videos that we're going to make. Thanks for dropping by.